That just tied a bow on it for Barcelona.
Yeah, so finishes Oviedo 1, Barcelona 3. A reminder what that means then at the top of the table. Barca closed the gap to Real Madrid to 2. Meanwhile, taking a look at the bottom, Oviedo, of course, with just one win so far this season. They sit 18th above the struggling Mallorca and Girona. For more on this, let's welcome in Luis Garcia. Luis, one of those games that if Barcelona win the title, you won't really remember it, but it's 3 points.
Yeah, it's the most important to show once again that the momentum is there. It wasn't the best performance that we've seen of this Barcelona. It was better in the second half. We were talking at halftime, there was needed a little bit more of speed on the ball. We talk about the replacement. Frankie de Jong was one of them, and Lewandowski to have a little bit more high into the box to receiving the crosses that it could happen in the second half, because in through the middle, there was so many people, and the combinations right there is very difficult. You have to be very precise. Having players on the wide areas putting crosses. We saw also Marcus Rashford in a different position on the right side with a good moment, because he's got a fantastic touch. So in the end, it's all about trying to find different situations that you're going to find during the rest of the season. This one wasn't an easy game. I think the Real Oviedo did a fantastic job. Bailey is going to give a lot of strength and solidness at the back of the defense. But it was important to get the 3 points, because Real Madrid cannot continue going. Winning against Atletico Madrid the weekend can give you a massive gap. It's difficult to manage in the next coming months. So good result, if we can say, about this Barcelona.
I mean, it was just so much slicker when Frankie de Jong came on, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, just the transition from defence, where he just plays his... And Pedri, I mean, it's not even close at Barcelona. Doesn't matter who he rotates. Pedri, in the big games, Pedri and de Jong are the best partnership in the middle of the park by far, by a million miles. And I know he has to give people a rest, and I know the boys were talking about in the commentary that maybe we'd like to give Pedri a rest as well. And don't forget, he came off the back of a couple of years of bad injuries, Pedri. So for the last year or so, we've seen him being fresh and fit and in fantastic form. But I'm sure Hansi Flick is aware that he has to manage his game time as well. But those two are super slick together. They're physical enough, but they're not really big guys, but they can get their foot in. They're brilliant on the ball. They're brilliant at reading games. Frankie de Jong takes up some great positions defensively when they're not on the ball to allow Pedri to go and support. And it was so much better, the ball he played in for Lewandowski, who was another substitute. And the first 45 was a struggle with some mistakes. The second 45 was much better without being brilliant. But 3 good goals, no injuries that I can think of. Some game time for 1 or 2 of the fringe players. The most important thing was the 3 points. And this La Liga title race, if we don't think Atleti are in it, and it doesn't look like it.
They're definitely not in it.
Maybe they'll beat Real Madrid at the weekend and things will change, but it certainly doesn't look like it, even though they were brilliant at the end yesterday against Vallecano. This one, in terms of the top 2, looks like it could go all the way. I mean, at the start of the season, we were thinking, right, how's Xabi Alonso going to cope with this? How are Real Madrid going to do? Are Barca going to be able to continue with their great form of last season? But there are still some questions about both. But it does look like, A, Barca are not going away, and B, Real Madrid, without being brilliant, are better than they were last year.
Does Flick need to have a word with Joan Garcia? Does he say, don't be an idiot, don't do that again?
The goalie.
As a
But they're born idiots.
No, he doesn't. Joan Garcia knows he's made a mistake, but he was brought to the club because outside of the top 3 in Spanish football, he was easily the best goalkeeper in La Liga last season. And to play for Barcelona, you have to be able to play with your feet. If you are going to make those mistakes, and we all do, you can do it against Oviedo, because ultimately you still come away with 3 points.
Well, here's a manager that even when people have questioned this, squeezing of the high back line, has never changed. He's just said to his players, do it better.
Yeah.
Be better at it. I'm not changing, be better. And I think it's the same with the goalkeeper here. He'll still want him to be the sweeper keeper, but he'll just say, listen, you just have to be better at it and make better decisions. In all fairness, the actual pass is on. It's not like he didn't have anything and he just had to lump it up the line. He's seen the pass. I'll give him his due. He's got decent vision. It's just the technique. That's
a lovely backhanded compliment.
He can see a pass, he just can't make a pass.
Luis, what was interesting, we discussed a lot over the last few days, Ferran Torres or Lewandowski, who is like the main man now for Hansi Flick. Nice little reminder from Lewandowski, great goal from him.
Yes, of course, and we all know the quality and talent of Lewandowski. Saw him just moving around, trying to find the spaces, but the ball wasn't arriving in the right position when he likes to enjoy. He did a fantastic turnaround for the first goal after scored Eric, but Lewandowski is all about that. When he is in the box, when he is near that area, he's so dangerous. Not only that fantastic header, but in a couple of chances before, after, he proved that he's always a threat. He turned around, he make a shot, and it was difficult for the keeper to hold it. So it's a fantastic fight that they're going to have to try to get more minutes. But right now, I think the Ferran Torres is ahead of him.
Which is the harder goal to score? The Reina goal or the Lewandowski goal?
The what goal?
So the Reina one, obviously, when the goalkeeper's made the mistake, you got the open goal, but you've still got to hit it sweetly first time. Or that skill from Lewandowski to be able to get that header where he wants to put it from that sort of range.
What's this, extra time?
It's a Dan Thomas question. I've been here for a while. I wanted to ask a question. I think it's an interesting question.
I like to save the kind of stupid questions.
Why is it a stupid question? I'm intrigued.
Because you're not intrigued.
I am intrigued. I'm fascinated by your answer.
There's no real correct answer. I'm just surprised to hear Luis. I'm just surprised to hear Luis saying that he thinks Ferran Torres is ahead of Lewandowski.
Right, OK. So what? But you just ignore my question.
No. I think you're flexing muscles here in the big games. I think Lewandowski will still be your go-to man.
Right. What about my question, Luis? Which was the better goal?
In my opinion, I think the Lewandowski is more difficult than the Reina's one.
There you are. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for a straight answer, Luis. That's all I was asking.
But it's not a definitive. It's not a definitive answer.
What do you mean? Well, you haven't given an answer. So therefore it is the definitive answer because you haven't given one. And Jack is a goalkeeper. So.
But there's no definitive answer there. They're both difficult skills. Right,
but Luis says there is, so we'll go with him. Just a reminder, Barcelona continue in action as we say goodbye to Luis. This weekend, they play on Sunday against Real Sociedad. That game live. ESPN Plus. Where is it? Is it Camp Nou yet? No. No. Safety issues. There we are. Good. Now, I know we're going back a bit. Arsenal-Manchester City, 1-1 last Sunday. A lot of discussion about Arteta's tactics, and I know you addressed it as well, Craig, when you were here earlier on in the week. But what's been interesting is that there was an embargo piece of the press conference that has been released. This was ahead of the Port Vale game in the Carabao Cup. This is what Arteta had to say.
What did you make of that narrative of you being too cautious and deploying a cautious approach which could have potential in the future?
But I'm going to convince somebody that feels that way to something else. I cannot spend my energy of that. I think when you look at the winning record on this football club, the goals that we score, the clean sheet that we have, the way we play, the way we played against Manchester City, in the territory we play against Man City. But, I mean, I cannot waste that opportunity. And if the intention of those comments, which ones are the good ones, positive, to be better for us, not to be so good for us. So depending where the comment is coming from, I think that's when I can analyze it. See, what is the intention, what is the purpose of that? Because I had a lot of things using my phone. They could not believe what we did to Manchester City. And people that are coaches, managers, CEOs, presidents, so proud. And I look at the players and the people around. So I'm much more filled and fueled with that with other ones that they want to make that.
Very similar to Ian Dark after a commentary. CEOs are always blowing up his phone to compliment him as he joins us now from the shadows a little from his house. I like it, Ian. Interesting stuff from Arteta, of course. Clearly, that criticism after his starting 11 against City has got to him a little bit, feeling that he has to cite that people have been on his phone blowing it up to congratulate him on his tactics.
Yeah, well, I think he's being a little bit oversensitive. I think it's a valid debate. I mean, it has been, I think, for a season or two about whether Arsenal are ambitious enough in the bigger games. I think that was a criticism levelled at them at Anfield against Liverpool. And I think he was right on the day. They didn't go for it enough until they went behind late to that great Szoboszlai free kick on that game. And against Manchester City, you did defend brilliantly, I thought, in that game, which we haven't said a lot about Manchester City in the last year. I mean, there was a debate. He didn't play Eza. He didn't play Martinelli, who'd come on and done really well. He preferred Trossard on the left. And it was only when those players got involved that they conjured up that magical equaliser in stoppage time. So, look, people are going to carry on debating it, whether Mikel Arteta likes it or not.
Could be another documentary here with light bulbs and all that. Isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
I was on his phone. That's what he was on his phone because that's how people contact you.
Yeah.
I mean, presidents and CEOs and managers and coaches of all these busy conglomerates around the world. They've got all the time in the day to phone somebody up who's just drawn with Man City at home. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? Drawn with Man City at home. Tottenham have beaten them. Brighton have beaten them. I mean, this is the Man City that are untouchable these days. This is the Man City that lost, what, did they lose 8 straight last year when they fell off the cliff, went for the parachute and it wasn't on? They couldn't win a game. Could not win a game. Dropped, at one point, they weren't even going to get in the top 5. We were sitting here discussing it. Man City might not get in the top 5. They might not be in the Champions League. They did in the end, but that's how bad they were. They've drawn with them at home, and every Tom, Dick and Harry from around the world is phoning them on his phone, by the way. It's incredible. Here's a guy, and he talks about, you know, the results this club have had. He's won an FA Cup in his time there. That's what he's won. He's improved the squad, or the club have. He's got a perfect squad now, near perfect. He's got a very, very strong outfit to go to the bench. He's got quality all over. They've spent a fortune. They keep finishing second. Now he has to get them over the line. And any thought about anybody criticising him is irking him. And that's telling me he knows the pressure he is under. He's got his striker. He's got his backup in the wide positions. He got Zubimendi. He's got a back four that most people in European football would die for. Absolutely rock solid. But yet, he was cautious in that game at home against a team that many people don't think will get back to the summit. Right? This wasn't Man City in their pomp of 3 or 4 years ago that when they rolled in and got off the bus, everybody was quaking in their boots. This is not that Man City. This is the Man City that most teams in the Premier League can get at. And we've seen it already this season on 2 occasions. They can be got at and they can be beaten. And Arsenal failed to do that. With all that pressure and all that possession, they failed because he had, for the most part of the game, the wrong personnel in the wrong areas to get the job done. That's a fact. And he can sit there and bumble away all he wants, like David Brent from The Office. But the point is, he was too cautious against a Man City side that did defend well. As Ian said, I'll give you that. They did defend well. But if you do the right things in the right areas in the final third against that back four, they had Kushinov at right back, who's a centre back. They had Nico Riley at left back, who's a midfielder. And yet Arsenal were cautious with the 3 midfielders, as he should have played. That's, in my opinion, I think in most. He could have played in that number 10 role. He did not until late in the game. And he was the difference with that ball over the top.
Why do you feel he had the need to share this, Shay?
I'll just double down on what Craig said. I think it's pressure. It's about the pressure that
I think so.
Without question. Listen, I think while he's felt that pressure for many seasons gone, I think now it's been turned up because they've gotten that piece that everybody said they'd been missing in Gyökeres. Everybody said they'd been missing. Now all of a sudden, as Ian mentioned, you lose to Liverpool, and now the discussion around this City result, if not result, Sydney performance is, did Arsenal pin City back, or did City play that way by design to hurt Arsenal in the counter-attack? Now, given that Arsenal scored in 93rd minute or whatever it was, I'm more feeling, and kind of looking at how the game progressed, I'm more feeling that all of a sudden Pep Guardiola played in a way that nobody expected. He sat deep, he defended well, he used Doku and Haaland to very good effect, and Arsenal just weren't able to solve that conundrum, or certainly break them down because they didn't have the creativity on the park because they were expecting to be pinned back a little bit more. So if you look at it from that perspective, you think Pep outcoached Arteta on the day. Whilst Arteta now is feeling that pressure, maybe seeing that, maybe hearing some of that criticism, given that he's now got all the pieces to his puzzle, this is his only defence of, well, what was an all right result. Could have been a whole lot worse, but it's certainly not great by any measure.
Now, what does he do? What is he? He's he's put more pressure on himself because he has one of the big games of the Premier League season at the weekend. Newcastle, away from home. And if you watch the Champions League game with Barcelona at St James's Park, who you could consider in the top 2 or 3 teams in European football at the moment, and you saw how Newcastle, particularly in the first half, put them under pressure, then they can do it to Arsenal. So what does he do? Because you might think, well, I go to Newcastle, maybe that's when I would have a bit more of a cautious approach.
Yes.
Away from home, take the sting out of the game, then bring the flair players on. But is he now double thinking and overthinking it and, all these, what are the chief executive officers telling him to do at the weekend? I don't know. Does he go up there and is he sort of pressured into change? Do you think the press are going to be onto me? What the pundit's going to say if I go with, I need to play Eze, I need to play him, I need to get Saka into the team. What is he going to do in this Newcastle game? Because if he goes to St James's Park, and it's well possible you can go up there and get beaten, because I know it's not perfect for them losing Isak, but they're a good side. And they're at home, and that crowd behind them. He needs some sort of result. Not because the draw against Man City at home was terrible, but because he's came out and tried to say, you guys, you've no idea what you're talking about. I'm the only one that knows what I'm doing, and don't even question me. So he really needs to get a big result on Sunday.
Pressure is a word that both Craig and Shaka have used, Ian. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think he is under pressure because they've been runners-up 3 times in a row now. And as the guys have been saying, he's had the money, he's strengthened the team in all the right areas. So it's green for go, or it should be green for go. And Craig's right. That is a bit of an acid test game at Newcastle at the weekend. They've got a great defence, best defence in the league. It was last season. I think it will be again this season. But, one thing that happened in that game, with Gyökeres, I don't think he had a chance in the game. They weren't creating any chances. They never looked like scoring against Manchester City until they did in the 93rd minute, whatever it was. So that's a bit of an issue. But I think you have to cut Arteta a little bit of slack still, because it's still pretty early days and he's still getting this new team to gel and maybe still working out what he thinks is the best lineup. And the best lineup, I think everybody agrees, is that Eze has to play as a number 10, not stuck out wide on the left touchline as he was for a game or two earlier on.
Well, they'll need to work it out quick, won't he? Because Liverpool are winning every game and City have still.
That's it. How much of a head start do you want to give?
And look, Ian talked about cutting them some slack there, and he has been cut a bit of slack in the last couple of seasons where they did put up some sort of title fight, which fell away. And whilst it fell away and City were strong one year, Liverpool were strong last year, you could put the argument up and say, well, Kai Havertz, we've discussed him, he's not really a number 9 and they need that player, or they, bringing Raheem Sterling in to back up Saka, that's never going to work. So you could find maybe an excuse there. And I think one of the issues that he has, looking from the outside now as a manager, is if the results are not there, and again, as Ian said, it is very early. But when all this is coming together at the end of the season, if they're not right in it to win it, people are going to say, well, you got your number 9. You got all the backup players to the wide position. You got your extra midfielder in that you wanted. So there is really no excuses now. And if it comes to a point where they're not getting the results, the discussion's going to turn from can Arsenal win the league to can Arsenal win the league with Mikel Arteta. And that takes the focus from the squad onto the manager.
Let's stay in London, shall we, and focus on the world champions, of course. A rough couple of weeks for Chelsea. A lot of talk about the way Enzo Maresco has not only treated Raheem Sterling, but also, of course, the way that he talked about him in the press conference earlier this week. Great stuff from Mark Ogden and Nedum Manua. Of course, Nedum knows all about being ostracised at a club. This is what he had to say with Mark.
So, Raheem Sterling's got 2 years left in a contract, reportedly worth £300,000 a week. Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Why didn't he just take a pay cut and go to Fulham or to Brentford and play for 50 grand a week? He wants to play.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, actually. Firstly, because as a sort of like as a player or as somebody who's earning any particular type of money, firstly, do you have to take a pay cut? You love football, but do you have to take a pay cut? Because essentially Chelsea have, if we're talking about Raheem Sterling as an example, obviously we could talk about Disasi and so on. If Chelsea said that this is how much they can afford to pay you as a player, then that's essentially what your value is as a player. okay, well, fine. Well, we can't afford to pay that anymore. You need to go elsewhere. How many teams immediately have a big interest in terms of, say, trying to bring in Raheem Sterling? They'll probably say, well, it's too expensive. So does Raheem Sterling have to go around the club saying, listen, don't worry about how much that costs now. I'm going to come in for less. I'm going to come in for less. At a point where Sterling is probably approaching the point in his career where earnings are potentially maximised as opposed to going the other way. Okay. I think for me, the bigger topic, which goes beyond the money itself, because nobody knows how much he wants, how much he expects, how much he needs, and so on, is the fact that, like, especially as you get older, the decisions you make about where you play a lot of the times are dictated by external factors like family, for example. Like, where are you going to find the most happiness for yourself as a player? Because you could say, oh, I'll take a tenth of my salary and just go and play anywhere in particular. Like, well, listen, we all love football, but the more you play, the more you realize how much of a job it is, especially with the bad experiences that sometimes come with it. So yes, it's not that simple. And I think the clubs themselves don't necessarily make it that simple either. He will want to play, but he'll want to play at the right place because he's currently at the lowest point he's had in his career to date. So why should he pursue something if he knows that isn't, or if he believes that that's not necessarily going to make him any happier either?
Speaking on the football reporters, Nathan with Oggy, there were reports that he could have gone to Bayern Munich, that he could have linked up with Vincent Kompany again, but he didn't want to move his family to Germany. He didn't want that to affect his family life.
I get that.
And that is something that, as a former pro, that you can't criticise, that you can't say, well, look, you're still playing at the highest level. No, you still have the opportunity.
No, I mean, that's for families to make decisions. The one thing that I would say, I'm presuming this was some sort of loan deal to Bayern Munich. You know, you can get round that by going yourself and making the travel back and forward. I mean, no man travels more than the guy sat next to me. I mean, he doesn't go... up and down.
But unfortunately, Xhaka goes in the car to avoid his family.
Up and down to Boston for about 15 years. But, you know, you can't... But that's a personal matter. The fact that he was getting a chance, along with Nico Jackson, to move to Bayern is a shocker. There is no right and wrong answer here. There is not. Because Chelsea have given the player the contract, the manager doesn't want him, the player is entitled to stay and pick up his wages. It then comes down to personal decisions, you know, when you're not wanted at a club. So they're not moving a family abroad. I mean, if you're saying you didn't want to move 2 hours, then that's different. But when you're moving, not everybody wants to move to a different country, because it could be a schooling issue or something like that. And so these things are personal, and there is no right and wrong answer here. Raheem Sterling and Chelsea and everybody around it are going to have to figure this one out.
I think for so long there's been an expectation that you just play for as long as you can, regardless.
Right. Yeah.
If it means taking a pay cut, then so be it. But the money has grown to a point now where I think players coming to the end of their careers, they're able to dictate a lot more of that. Now, Raheem Sterling will be 31 in December. So by usual measure, it's not really considered retirement age. But if he's at a point where he feels he's earned enough and he can sustain his family throughout, he's no longer in love with the game as he once was 6 or 7 years ago, his family is settled in London, then why move? And I think that's when this happens to every single player with a family as you come to the end of your career. What do you do? Where do you put down those roots? Because for the duration of your career, your family are moving around with you while you chase your dreams. And at some point, you're going to have to be a father and put them first. And I think that's what Raheem Sterling is doing. That maybe he just sees this career going until the next 2 years to the end of his contract, and he's going to pack up and let his family put down their roots there, let those kids have as normal a childhood or what's left of their childhoods as possible. And that's a responsible fathering thing to do.
Right.
Rather than, and he's putting that first as opposed to, well, I want one last hurrah. That, you know, at some point you run out of
it's really interesting because I think as someone who's never played the game, like we're like, wow, you've got the best job in the world. Mm-hmm. You know, you should be able to, you should play it to the best as you can for as long as you can. But as you say, and I think speaking to you guys over the years, you do realise there's that personal element to it. That just because in theory you've won the lottery or whatever to be able to play this game at the highest level doesn't mean that then it should be dictated to you how you should live.
I'll give you. Sorry, Sha, I'll give you an example. It's a little different because it wasn't about a player frozen out, but it was about moving countries. And you kind of know this story. My old Celtic in Scotland teammate Paul Lambert, former Villa manager in Norwich, blah blah blah. He was playing at Borussia Dortmund in Germany, and they just won the Champions League, and I'm beating Juventus with a magnificent Dortmund team. And 3 months after winning the Champions League, he moved to Celtic and joined us. Because I think he had three or four young kids at the time, and I think it was... And Celtic's a big club, obviously, huge club, so are Dortmund. But Celtic are not winning the Champions League, it's not even close. You know, you've got Borussia Dortmund going for the Bundesliga, going for the best trophy you can win as a player in club football, and yet here he is jumping from that ship with much better players, a much more successful club, certainly in Europe, to come back to Scotland, when most people would sit and think, why would you leave that situation? And it was because, I think, behind the scenes, they wanted to return to somewhere where everybody was a bit more comfortable. And I think, ultimately, every player that plays the game has to make, wherever they move, whatever club they go to in whatever country, has to factor that in. And when people say players moving sometimes, they think it's just for the money, or they think it's just for that, or just for this, or just for the glory. But it's not. It's not. There are so many other facets to it that go on behind the scenes. And, you know, the Raheem Sterling one, the Paul Lambert one, there's thousands of them. There's absolutely thousands of them. And sometimes you don't realise why players make decisions. Their head scratches, you're looking, why is he going there? Why is he going there? And usually there's something else beyond the money and beyond what's happening on the field. And it's usually what's happening at home.
Ian, who would have thought? Footballers are people too, eh?
Well, I mean, I understand what the guys are saying about family considerations, things we don't know about because we're on the outside of all that. But I think, I mean, what you said, Dan, is probably right. There is a bit of a perception now of Sterling that he has had a great career, but he's something of a light of former days. And then you hear he did have the chance maybe to go to Bayern Munich. That would have been an interesting move. Okay, it might not have worked with his family life, but has he lost a bit of fire and desire to be a top professional footballer when he's only just past his 30th birthday, coming on 31, isn't he? So I think that there is that, but, you know, you're right. We don't understand all of the circumstances around this, but it does seem a pity, doesn't it, that Raheem Sterling is just sitting around on a Saturday afternoon or whenever the games are now, rather than starring and making headlines.
Just one thing quickly. I'm not sure if you saw Stevie during the week. Got quite animated when Enzo Maresco brought up the fact that his dad was a fisherman, and then that he had to get up at 2 a.m. and worked hard in the mornings, and that's real graft. You know, I feel sorry for people like that who have to kind of go out and earn a living like that. I've got no sympathy for Raheem Sterling. Stevie's point was, what's that got to do with anything? Why bring that up? You know, Enzo Maresco came out and said, I've been isolated myself. I know what it's like. So why treat Raheem Sterling as you were treated and didn't like in the first place?
I mean, I'm not quite sure what we're getting at here.
So Maresco,
I know what you're saying.
Maresco says, why are we talking about Sterling so much? This is a guy who earns 300 grand a week. Why is he even a conversation? Why is there any sympathy for him? Look at my dad. He went out 2 a.m. as a fisherman, really grafted. Yeah. And Stevie's point is, it's apples and oranges. Yeah.
Well, it is, because it's two completely different things. I mean, there's been people down coal mines for years, you know, there's people grafted away and all sorts of different stuff and come out with absolutely diddly squat at the end of it. You know, we're talking about this in a football parlance. Listen, I don't think anybody here is sitting shedding a tear for Raheem Sterling. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's a situation for him. And look, the manager doesn't like... I'm not saying he doesn't like him. He doesn't like him as a player. Whether he likes him as a person, I don't know. But it's crystal clear he doesn't like him as a player, and that's his choice. That is Maresca's choice. But yeah, you're right. You don't have to start making reference to people getting up at this time and getting up at that time. I'm sure from Raheem Sterling's point of view, even if he's lost a bit of desire, as Ian said, and I would tend to agree with that, you know, you don't want to sit there and just see your career fall flat on its face. You want to be able to go out and at least do something in a weekend. There has to be a purpose, surely. for you training every day. And he will still be training. There has to be something at the end of the week, Shaq, to go and do, go and play.
There's a couple of things. I was on the show with Stevie earlier in the week when he made those comments, and I freely admit, I hold my hands up. I didn't realise that Maresca was asking Sterling to come in at 8 o'clock at night. I knew he was asking him to train.
Sorry?
He's asking Raheem Sterling and one other, I can't remember who it is, to come in at 8 o'clock at night to train separately from the team. No. Coming in to train...
That's trying to drive somebody into
exactly. Coming in to train separately is nothing new. Yes. Coming in to train separately at 8 o'clock at night is desperate. So to that point, and to build on what Stevie was saying, now, I don't understand the comparison with your father. Raheem Sterling is paid the amount of money he is because he has a very specialised skill set and is rewarded accordingly. Make what you like of that. He's rewarded because of this very specialised skill set. Now, he may be surplus to your requirements right now, but that doesn't mean that you treat him any less, that you demean him in any way, that you belittle him in any way. And this, for me, is a dangerous double-edged sword for Maresca, because the rest of the dressing room, whether they're playing or not, are seeing this. And every single player will go through this period in their life, whether it's under Maresca and at Chelsea or not. But every single player comes to the end of their time, and where they are kind of trying to balance being in the team and not, and because you've been in the game for so long, you're earning it at a certain level. And players lose respect for that treatment. Players will lose respect for Maresca very quickly. So while he thinks that the brave thing to say or the big thing to say is to just diminish Raheem Sterling as he is and make comparisons for God alone knows what reasons, he has to be very careful in how the rest of the dressing room hears this and how they process this, because they could turn on him very quickly if they so desire.
This smells to me like it might be coming from Maresca and it may be coming down from above, from boardroom level. But
Maresca has to be the go-between. He has to take that responsibility.
It seems to me, and I've had this experience, it comes down, let's try and destroy him, let's try and just drive him into the ground so his chin's on the floor, so he'll take the first thing that comes along.
So he gives up the money, basically.
He just gives up. And I don't know Raheem Sterling, right? But I don't think any player at any level should have that. And I have had, as you know, something similar, where a manager and a club will try to drive me into the ground, try to drive me out when I wasn't allowed to park in the club car park, when I wasn't allowed to get on the bus, when I wasn't allowed to get into the training ground. Tried everything mentally to get in my head. And as you know, that's difficult. And I stood my ground. And I think any player should stand their ground when a club are trying to physically force a player out with mental destruction. And as we know, nobody comes in at that time of night to train. Absolutely nobody. Because that's the time at night you're at home.
Sure, of course.
And that's the time... So if Chelsea are doing that, this is classless. Absolutely classless. I understand ostracising a player, any player. That can happen. But when you're treating a player and you're an elite level club with a global audience and you have made a decision to spend money on this player and give him a contract, and then you're trying to mentally destroy him by bringing him in the evening, that is bang out of order.
Good, support him. That point for Elche. Surprise start to the season for them. They're as high as 5th in the table. As we discussed earlier, Barcelona up to 2 points off Real Madrid after their victory against Real Oviedo, who sit 18th in the table. Let's get some reaction now, shall we, from Robert Lewandowski and Hansi Flick.
How do you feel with this movement of Joan Garcia in the goal conceded?
It happens. It's the style how we want that he played, and this is it could happen. This is what I have to say. At the end he's a fantastic goalkeeper, and he's also at the end he protect our and defend our last line. So he's the backup for our last line, and he did it normally really good. And one mistake and they use it, but it's football. It's football. We came back with 3-1. We won here, and this is the most important thing.
Robert, during these games, we sit behind the goal. I was behind the goal at the other end from your header, and even from there, was extraordinary.
Oh, this for me now. I didn't see I didn't yet see this goal, in the television or after, because when you're on the pitch, you are focused just to doing your job. I saw that the corner, like the left side of the post is not. I don't want to say empty, but it's like if I put the ball there, that is possible. I have opportunity to score the goal, but also the cross from was really amazing, and I know that the space is there. Even if a little bit space, I have to be there, and I think that that was a very important goal. I know that if I came in on the game, I have to do something. I have to try to score the goal.
Was today's performance and result also a demonstration of the strength in depth that you have this season, the variety of options that you have? That maybe last year the front three, you and Lamine and Rafinha, played lots and lots of minutes, and that becomes quite hard over the course of a long season. Have you got more capacity to rotate this year, more capacity to add variety to the forward line, do you think?
We have so many games, and the season is very long, that even for me, that in the end of this year, the pre-season, I got injury, so I was out like 3 weeks, but later also I still felt some things that I couldn't do everything for 100%, and I think now I feel very, very, very good physically as well, and it's like you have to be patient sometimes. Of course, for striker is always easier, better to play, to have the opportunity, but sometimes you have to be also patient with and thinking that more games coming, and even more important games coming. And of course, for me I think personally it's also important, because we know that the last season we had some kind of part of the season that we didn't play well, or were a little bit I don't want to say tired, but like miss some fresh, and that's why it's important to not only looking to the next game, but for all of the season. Of course, we want every game win every game, but in the end, we have to know that be more fresh for the next game, and for the future, it means that we have more opportunity to be the better team.
Sid Lowe through tears interviewing Robert Lewandowski there. Sid, many want to know your reaction to Reyna's goal.
I was quite excited.
Obviously,
I was very professional, Daniel.
Yeah, right.
I was very professional. I didn't jump up. I did think to myself, actually, you know what? If Oviedo score at the end I'm at, it's going to be quite difficult for me not to leap over the advertising boards and into the arms of the goal scorer. In that sense, it was probably a good thing it was at the other end.
In the end, Sid, best team won, obviously. Their big changes at half-time, proving how key this De Jong and Pedri partnership is going to be going forward.
Yeah, I think De Jong made a real difference. I felt that in the first half, Pedri was the one player moving the ball, the one player having the subtlety to maybe see little spaces, little pockets of opportunities to try and create chances. Then when he had Frenkie de Jong alongside him, I think they were a far, far stronger midfield. I think I would put it in the context of the physical nature of the game as well, though. I think even at the end of the first half, you could see that some of Oviedo's players were tiring, and I think it did feel, to me at least, like this was one of those occasions where, come 60, 70, maybe 75 minutes, there would be a moment when Barcelona would get on top, not least, of course, because of that strength on the bench that they have. The fact that they could bring on Jules Koundé, Robert Lewandowski, Frenkie de Jong tells you something about that strength in depth. And actually, I thought it was very interesting there what Lewandowski said post-game. He said, there were moments last season where I don't want to say tired, but I think he was making it quite clear that the strength in depth, certainly for the front three, is going to be quite important this year.
Sid Lowe, as always, thank you very much. Of course, a big weekend of action in Spain. Atletico Madrid against Real Madrid. The highlight, a game you can see live on ESPN+. Atleti, of course, come into this tie after that extraordinary match yesterday. Ian and Sid with us. Ian and Sid, of course, will both be in Madrid for ESPN for that game. Does the way that match ended change the narrative at all going into this tie, Sid?
Absolutely, it does. And I'm very struck by what David Hanko said to Alex Kirkland post-game last night, which was, he said, we've been talking about this in the dressing room, and maybe this is better than winning 4-0. And I think it probably is, in terms of that sense of coming back from behind, that sense that the things that have been going wrong so far this season were going wrong again. Atletico Madrid have led in all of their games. In almost all of their games, they've led early, and yet they'd only managed to win one of them. And this was a game in which it felt like that was happening again. They scored early, they were in control, they were creating chances, and then you get that extraordinary goal just before half-time. Then you get another goal from who was it? I can't remember who it was now. From Alvaro Garcia, that's right, who scores the second to make it 2-1. At that point, they think this is slipping away from us. And so I think the fact that they came back and turned it round is really, really important. And then there's a mathematical side of this. They were in a position where the league title race was done. They're still in a position where the league title race is difficult, but they will now look at this and think, well, if we beat Real Madrid, it becomes 6 points again, and that becomes something we can manage. Whereas previously, they would be in a situation where even going into this game, regardless of what they got, they weren't going to be in a position where they would have felt they could have competed for the league title.
First test, isn't it, Ian, in La Liga? Certainly, we saw them labour somewhat against Marseille in the Champions League. Now it's time to see really what we can get, what we expect from Xabi Alonso's side.
Yeah, but that could be a springboard, just as Sid was saying, for Atletico Madrid, winning it the way they did late, Alvarez getting a hat-trick. This could be the spark point for their season, but they are 9 points adrift. That is a heck of a lot, even at this early stage of the season. But we saw last season, there were 4 meetings, there was nothing in it. A very combustible 1-1 draw at the Metropolitano, or 1-1 at the Bernabeu. The Champions League game went to penalties. Real got the better of the shootout there. But you see with Atletico Madrid, I mean, it's almost a cliche to see them as kind of gritty fighters, which of course they are, but there's a fair bit of ability in that team as well. So they would love nothing better than to rip up Xabi Alonso's 100% record. And in their own stadium, where they're mighty tough to beat, they might just do it.
Enjoy yourself, boys. Have a great time in the Spanish capital. It's Atletico Madrid against Real Madrid, then live on ESPN+, 9:30 Eastern on Saturday. Victory for Inter Miami would see them clinch a place in the playoffs. Luis Suarez back, of course, from his ban from spitting. He would start in this tie. Inter Miami would take the lead just before the break. Messi into Rodriguez, who would make it 1-0.
It's a nice little ball again from Leo Messi. Rodriguez, a lot of work to do with this. Just keeps us cool, tidy finish.
Into the second half we go. Busquets into Messi.
Both goals has been a gaping hole in that New York defence. And great ball. A pretty simple ball from Busquets, actually.
Not bad for Messi either, to be fair.
Not too bad. Shabby at all. Leo.
Rodrigo de Paul will be brought down in the box here after link-up play between Suarez and Busquets.
And YCFC making their own problems, trying to play out from the back, and then late with the challenge come across as they get caught thin.
And Suarez then celebrates the return after his ban to score to make it 3-0.
Oh,
and they've got another goal as well, Shaka.
Oh, boy.
Messi's going to score.
I was already going home.
There you are.
Another really nice finish from
Really
Leo
nice
Messi.
goal.
Tight angle, it just makes these look so easy. Takes it with no backswing, in stride, keeper can't react, inches inside that far post.
There you are, Miami in the playoffs. Do you want a graphic to show that Messi's good, Craig? Here it comes, 24 goals, 38 goal contributions, 8 multi-goal games.
I tell you what's a real shock, isn't it?
Joining MLS.
I mean, talking about surprises, Lionel Messi comes to Major League Soccer and finds it easy.
Thank you, Dan. We're at the Oktoberfest in Munich. It's a tough job, but someone got to do it. And we have the uniform, the Tracht. And Thomas, of course, the Lederhosen. You have to show them.
Well, mine is slightly different to yours. As you can see, there are a lot of spots on it. And this is not because I didn't wash it. You're not supposed to wash it.
You're not supposed to wash Lederhosen?
No, don't wash it. There's a lot of beer on this, and this is supposed to last a lifetime. Don't wash it ever. It has to be greasy, and I'm working on it.
So what's your relation to Oktoberfest?
Well, I grew up in Munich, and you can see here the food. I'm still surprised I became a professional football player because this is German or Bavarian breakfast, lunch and dinner at once, and yet I made it.
Fantastic. So we are looking good, and we are feeling good. And talking about that, Bayern Munich, the start of the season, 4 games, 4 wins. very convincing against Chelsea as well. They're just flying, aren't they?
Well, they are indeed, and I've seen all of the games. At the first one against Leipzig, I thought Leipzig was really poor, but now it shows Bayern they're really, really playing good stuff. Harry Kane in particular, you know, often we talk about him, how good he is. Again, scoring 2 goals against Hoffenheim. He's leading that team. He's a great role model. And I don't know where this is going to end, but they are so far ahead of the rest of the Bundesliga, it's actually quite scary.
And he's breaking all kind of records, and not only as a number 9, a number 10, a number 6 sometimes he's picking up the ball. I mean, is he at his best form of his life?
Well, he changed his role slightly. He really enjoys coming a bit deeper and not allowing the defender to mark him closely, so he's dropping into midfield, and he ends up in the box where he needs to be and then score goals. Of course, he takes penalties better than anybody else, but in total, getting older, he needs to redefine his game, and he has managed it so well.
And there's one thing every fans in Germany singing: "Zieh die Bayern die Lederhosen aus." Take off your Lederhosen. And will Bremen have any chance to do that tomorrow?
I think it's very, very little. Werder Bremen, they're trying to find their feet under the new manager, Horst Steffen. Well, the only option is Victor Boniface, who's come in new. I think he's a very good signing. Werder Bremen, a club that has had a very good tradition with great strikers going forward, but he may not be fit enough to start. I think their chances are little, and I would expect Bayern to win.
And talking about little chances, I mean, the Schale is the big trophy here in Germany, but sometimes it feels like the Challengers Trophy. Who is the challenger to Bayern is even more important. How do you see the challengers now? At the moment it's Dortmund. How do you see Dortmund there?
Yeah, well, at the beginning I thought it was Eintracht Frankfurt. They showed some really good signs of another very good team, reshuffling the team. However, now it turns out to be Dortmund, the team that has challenged Bayern the most in recent years. Niko Kovac is doing a really good job. There's very little reason to change him. The only issue recently they had was finishing off games. St. Pauli, Juventus, that's when late they conceded these goals. But overall, they seem to be the strongest team in the Bundesliga after Bayern.
In general, of course, Dortmund 4-2 up against Juventus away from home. We've seen it at Liverpool as well, winning at the end. But is it a weakness or a strength to be 4-2 up and then under up 4-4? Strength or weakness?
I'd say there is a little bit of both, of course. And Dortmund, they've had this reputation for a while. Whenever the players have been asked about a lack of mentality, they're really annoyed about this. So this has been ongoing. But the way I know Niko Kovac, you know, he's going to address it. He works so hard. I do believe they get it right. However, the gap between them and Bayern, I still think, is too big.
Two great traditions in this city. One, Oktoberfest, and second, to get the Schale at Rathausplatz after the season to get the trophy. Is there any chance that Bayern won't win the league this season?
Well, they're the biggest favourites for sure. As I said at the beginning, I wasn't quite sure, but now they seem so dominant. If some of the key players stay fit, Musiala is going to come back, Davis is going to come back. So they look so strong that I think they win it. But as we know, you and I, Bayern, their test is the Champions League. They want to get as far as possible. But yeah, I agree. I believe they win the Bundesliga.
We'll end with wishing Craig Burley happy birthday, and we do it the Bayern way. En, zwei, Prost.
Yes, happy birthday, Craig. You know what we've got you? Dirty lederhosen.
Right, never wash it.
Derek Ray has contributed.
God, it's not my birthday.
It was your birthday yesterday, of course. So we know you hate cake. So we didn't get you birthday cake. Like, we did listen, we did respond to your protest of previous years. So we got you birthday cakes, cupcakes, sorry, with your head on top.
Ah, but that's what everybody wants.
Very good, man. Look, that's a lot of cupcakes as well.
That's a lot of Craig.
It is too much Craig.
It is way too much Craig, Burley.
Well done.
Oh, boy.
Happy birthday, Craig. Congratulations.
You look a day over 64.
I'm officially handing my resignation in after this show.
Oh, what a great present for everybody else.
Yeah. I was happy with the cake all along.
I know.
Now I get this.
Peace and quiet as well.
I told you last year,
yes.
anybody brings anything.
Well, you said cake. I said
that's cake.
No, it's cupcake.
Enough talk. Enough talk.
I'll leave these for the staff.
You're not going to have it for the staff. How many people do you think work on this show? Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time as we celebrate another year of Craig Burley on the planet. What a treat.
I tell you what.
The human race.
We should get cake. We should get cake.
And of course, he's grumpy because he said he didn't want anything, but there we are.
I don't like fuss.
Well, there you are. You've got some fun. You deserve it.
I like to fly under the radar.
Oh, we are. All right. Ian, would you like to give Craig your salutations?
Well, I wish him a very happy birthday, but here I am on the other side of the Atlantic talking to you. Those cakes look very, very good indeed.
They smell great.
How do you need 60 for 3 people in there?
I don't know why there are so many. How did it taste, Shane?
Good.
Are they good?
Very good. Good, yeah.
Very good.
Looks are deceiving, eh?
Are you not going to taste one, Craig?
No.
Oh, dear.
Because I'm working. You're dropping out your mouth. I'm working on my.
It's 54 cupcakes, apparently, for every year you've been on the planet. That's nice, isn't it? Oh, 53 and a half.
Yeah. How thoughtful.
Very good. I don't have the questions.
I don't feel it.
You look at. Let's take a look
I
then.
thought you were older than me, you know.
Huh?
I thought Craig was...
Oh, yeah. Let's take a look at the first question then, shall we? Here it comes. Lovely. All right, okay. How did Craig celebrate his birthday? What did you do yesterday? You had the day off, didn't you? What did you do? Anything exciting? You can give us a rundown while I go and get these questions.
Go on, tell us what you did for your birthday.
No, I refuse.
Did you get a present?
No.
Why are you being mardy?
I don't know.
It's nice.
I don't like it.
What do you mean you don't like it?
I'm going to try a chocolate one now.
Yeah, you have them all, Shaq.
Not wrong.
There you are.
I'm going to try a chocolate one now.
For Shaka. Wait. What, sorry?
This is annoying me actually more than Arteta.
Have you noticed your phone not being blown up by CEOs? Wishing you happy birthday.
CEOs will be calling to ask for a cupcake.
I've had CEOs, presidents, and other pundits around the globe ringing me to say how well we've done with these cakes.
Say happy birthday.
They've never seen cakes like it.
Oh dear. When are your power rankings starting, Shaka?
You're lazy.
It's a question. Yeah, what's happened to them?
You're on your third cake.
Second cake.
What different flavours are they, Shaq? What have you had so far?
Well, I've had this one.
Right, what's that?
White one.
I
don't know.
Did you put it back? Okay, I'm going to try this white one.
Did I put it back?
All right, Ian, who finishes with a better season, Grealish or Rashford?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm going to say Jack Grealish, because I think he's made a sensational start with Everton, and it's everything Everton would have wanted it to be. So long may it continue, and maybe he'll even get back in the England squad.
There you go. What do you think, Craig?
He didn't play at Wolves. They lost at Wolves, didn't they? He didn't play. He made a lot of changes, David Moyes. Shall we talk about the Carabao Cup?
Why are you bringing the Carabao Cup up?
Why not?
Well, because the question is about who's going to finish, who's going to have a better season, Grealish or Rashford?
It's an unfair comparison, is my answer.
Why?
I'll go back to what we said in the show when we were talking about there's no definitive correct answer.
God, we're just going to sit on the fence now for everything. Next question.
I'm going to do that going forward.
Ian, how good is Craig at golf?
Oh, he's sensationally good. It hurts me to say it, but if he eats all those cakes, he's not going to be good for very much longer, I don't think. But look, you and I, Dan, are pretty hopeless at golf.
Yeah, that's
he's going around in 73 or something. He probably thinks 73 is a bad score, don't you, Craig?
No, that's not bad at the moment.
Oh, there we are. But isn't it weird, Ian? He's really nice on the golf course as well.
Really nice.
He's a model pro on the golf course. He really is.
I know. As opposed to, how would you describe him in studio?
He's a model human on the golf course.
Maybe a little bit more combustible in studio.
Well, there's not as many Muppets on the golf course.
Well, I don't know.
No, come in here.
Right. People give you cupcakes. How dare they?
Come in here and I'm just like...
How dare they? Oh, man.
What am I working with?
I wish they gave you some lederhosen. The 64 teams...
Well, you'd have had to tranquilise me.
I know, but...
I wouldn't have put them on.
We could have done that.
I mean, look at Jan and that piece that was on the show. He looked like a farmer.
But look, he was having fun. I thought they would be...
Well, I wasn't having fun during that 5-minute piece with horrible German food in the background, and them two, him and Hitzelsberger, waffling on some game on Friday.
I'm sure at home you could just feel the birthday spirit around the studio. The 64 teams 2030 World Cup that is being pitched for Infantino, is that a good or a bad idea, Ian?
Come here.
Almost as many teams as cupcakes.
64 teams. This guy needs to be Sorry,
Look,
Ian, go on.
Pretty soon, we won't be able to need even to have qualifiers, will we? The way we're going. They cannot be serious, to use a John McEnroe phrase.
Oh, yeah. Do you like that idea, Craig?
What?
64 teams?
I thought you were about using the John McEnroe phrase.
There you are. John McEnroe getting on well, I reckon.
Huh? Yeah. I don't know. I bet he's very... Actually, he's not. No, I don't like 64 teams. No. I don't like 48 teams.
Right.
You don't like 48?
Yeah, I don't like any of it. I just don't like the oversaturation of elite tournaments into everybody come along and here's you win a watch. That's what you're gonna be getting. The 64 team, you get a cupcake when you come along.
There you go.
For your representation of a World Cup. You'll win absolutely diddly squat. And people sat at home will be sitting watching. Oh my God! Can't wait to see Brazil v Moldova. Said nobody.
Oh. So you'll be 60 for the 2030.
Well, Moldova, they get beat 11-0 off
Norway.
Norway.
I think they got one, didn't they? Was it 11-1? That's nice.
You got a bit of cream in the side of your mouth.
Hey, it's good cream. You should have some.
Good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nice.
It's not good for your liver.
Well, that's not going to help. It doesn't really matter anymore. God. Why do you think City still has 4 goalies, Shaq? What's the most number of goalkeepers a club should have, in your opinion? So who've they got? Donnarumma, Trafford, Ortega, is he still there?
Yeah, I guess.
And who's the old boy that's always there?
He's goalkeeper.
He's gone.
Scott
Carson.
Scott Carson. Oh, is he?
He's also a goalkeeper coach, no?
Oh, is he?
I believe so, player coach.
They have someone else, I'm being told. It's helpful.
I'm sure Chelsea have a whole lot.
An old Chelsea keeper, that's fine. It's just more useless in
Yeah, you know when you want some... all right, bringing cupcakes in. You know when you want a bit of info and you're on the cusp and you need some help about a player. The whole gallery goes quiet.
Can't focus, and I'll be honest with all these cupcakes around.
Well, Shaq, hey, you got Football Americas tonight.
Yeah. How many cupcakes do you reckon?
Cupcakes on there.
How many of them are you going to get through before Football America?
No, I'm done now.
I was
done
done
now.
it.
2.
That's your limit.
I'll
take some home. My boys will have some, Craig. Can I do that?
Do what you want, son.
All right, you can take some home to your family?
No. I'm not.
Ian, thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated as always. ESPN FC will return to your screens tomorrow.
Oh, look at that.
Save one for me.
Oh,
we'll send it to Madrid for you. Don't worry.
Thanks.
Bring
one.
Beautiful.
Also, we'll be looking ahead to the Madrid Derby on the next edition of ESPN FC. Happy birthday, Craig.
Happy birthday, Craig.
Where are you going?
Want me to sing?